My sister stole from me and blamed me, but I exposed her lies in front of the entire family. Hi, my name is Lauren. I'm 27 years old, and I live in Denver, Colorado. I've always been close to my younger sister, Emily, who's 24. Growing up, we were inseparable despite our differences. Emily was always the social butterfly, while I was more introverted, happy to stay at home with a good book or movie. That all changed a few weeks ago. Emily got married last summer, and it was a beautiful wedding. She and her husband, Jason, put together the perfect day, with an elegant outdoor ceremony and a lively reception. I was her maid of honor, and I couldn't have been happier to support her. I helped with everything, planning the bachelorette party, picking out flowers, and even decorating the venue the night before. But recently, Emily accused me of something that has completely shattered our relationship. It started with a phone call late one evening. "Lauren," Emily began, her voice shaking, "I need to ask you something serious. Did you take the cash gifts from our wedding?" I was stunned. "What? No. Why would you even ask me that?" Emily explained that after she and Jason returned from their honeymoon, they noticed a large chunk of the cash gifts they'd received, about $5,000, was missing. At first, she assumed it was an accounting error or that Jason had moved the money somewhere safe. But when she couldn't track it down, she started suspecting people. Somehow, her suspicions landed on me. "I'm not accusing you," she said, though her tone said otherwise. "But you were the one helping with the envelopes after the reception. It would have been easy for you to, you know." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Emily, I would never do that to you. I don't even need the money. You know that." She was quiet for a moment before muttering, "Well, someone took it, Lauren." The call ended abruptly, but the fallout was swift. Within days, it seemed like the entire family had heard Emily's suspicions. My parents started acting cold toward me, my cousins avoided me at a family barbecue, and my aunts, who loved to gossip, whispered whenever I walked into a room. I tried defending myself, but no one seemed to believe me. "Why would Emily make that up?" they'd say. "She's your sister. She wouldn't lie about something so serious." I felt completely alone. To make matters worse, Emily refused to speak to me after our initial conversation. Jason sent me a curt text saying it was best if I kept my distance until things were resolved. I wanted to scream. How could my own family turn on me like this? Then, one night, I remembered something. At the wedding reception, there had been a photographer hired to take candid videos of the guests. He was supposed to create a montage of the evening for Emily and Jason. I hadn't thought much about it since then, but I realized there might be footage of the gift table, or whoever was handling the envelopes. I contacted the photographer and explained the situation. He hesitated, citing client privacy, but after I assured him Emily was aware of the issue, he agreed to send over the raw footage. When the files arrived, I felt a mix of dread and determination. I spent hours combing through the videos, reliving the happy moments of the day. Emily and Jason's first dance, my dad's heartfelt speech, the kids running around on the dance floor. But then, in one of the clips, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There, near the gift table, was Emily's childhood friend, Sarah. She wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the envelopes, but the footage clearly showed her sliding several into her purse before glancing around nervously. I couldn't believe it. Sarah had always been close to Emily, practically like a second sister. Why would she do something like this? I knew I couldn't confront Sarah directly. I needed to be strategic. With the holidays approaching, I decided to wait until the family dinner to reveal what I'd found. I'd spent weeks being treated like a criminal. Now it was time to clear my name. But I had no idea how my family would react, or if they'd even believe me. The days leading up to the family dinner felt like an eternity. I kept replaying the video in my mind, questioning if I should even go. What if this backfired? What if Emily somehow still didn't believe me? Despite my doubts, I knew I had no other choice. My reputation and my relationship with my family were on the line. When the evening finally arrived, I showed up at my parents' house, laptop in hand, and a tight knot in my stomach. The usual holiday warmth was noticeably absent. My mom barely greeted me. My dad gave me a half-hearted pat on the back, and Emily? She didn't even look at me. The dinner itself was excruciating. I tried to make small talk with my cousins, but the tension in the room was palpable. Everyone knew about the incident, even if no one was saying it out loud. Finally, after the plates were cleared and dessert was being served, I decided it was time. I stood up, holding my laptop, and cleared my throat. "I need to say something," I began, my voice shaking slightly. The room fell silent. All eyes were on me. "Emily, I know you've been accusing me of taking the wedding money, and I know a lot of you," I glanced around the table, "have been treating me like I'm guilty." My mom shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Emily crossed her arms, glaring at me. "But I have proof that I didn't do it," I continued, opening my laptop. "In fact, I have proof of who did." Emily frowned. "What are you talking about?" I hit play on the video. The room was silent as the footage played. Everyone watched as Sarah, Emily's longtime best friend, casually walked over to the gift table during the reception, looked around to make sure no one was watching, and slipped several envelopes into her purse. By the time the video ended, you could have heard a pin drop. Emily's face was pale. This has to be fake," she stammered. "It's not fake," I said firmly. "This is raw footage from your wedding photographer. I contacted him because I knew I didn't take the money, and I was tired of being treated like a thief." My dad looked at Emily. "Why didn't you tell us about this before?" "I didn't know," Emily exclaimed, her voice rising. "I didn't think. I mean, Sarah would never." But the evidence was undeniable. "Emily," I said, my voice softer now, "I would never steal from you. I love you, and it hurts that you believed I could do something like this." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know what to think. Jason kept saying it had to be someone close to us, and you were the only one handling the envelopes that night." "Well, now you know," I said, shutting my laptop. "And I think you owe me an apology." Emily nodded, wiping her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Lauren. I should have trusted you." I wanted to forgive her right then and there, but the betrayal still stung. Before I could say anything, though, my dad spoke up. "What are we going to do about Sarah?" he asked. That was the million-dollar question. The family quickly decided that Sarah needed to be confronted. Emily was reluctant at first. Sarah had been her best friend since they were kids, but even she couldn't deny the evidence. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop the next day. Emily, Jason, and I would talk to Sarah, while my parents stayed out of it. When Sarah arrived, she looked surprised to see me there. "Hey, Lauren," she said casually, as if nothing had happened. I didn't bother with pleasantries. "Sarah, we need to talk about the wedding money." Her face froze for a split second before she forced a confused smile. "What about it?" Emily jumped in, her voice shaking. "We know you took it, Sarah. We have video proof." Sarah's eyes widened, and for a moment, she looked genuinely panicked. But then she laughed, a cold, nervous laugh. "You're kidding, right? You think I'd steal from you? From your wedding?" I pulled out my laptop again, opening the same video. "Watch this," I said, turning the screen toward her. She watched in silence, her face growing paler by the second. When the video ended, she tried to laugh it off. This isn't what it looks like. I don't even remember doing that." "Don't lie to me, Sarah," Emily snapped. "How could you? We trusted you." Sarah's facade crumbled. She started crying, mumbling about how she was in a tough spot financially and didn't know what else to do. "I was going to pay it back," she insisted through her tears. I didn't think anyone would notice." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You thought no one would notice $5,000 missing?" Emily was shaking with anger. "We're done, Sarah. I can't believe you'd betray me like this." Sarah begged for forgiveness, but Emily wasn't having it. She told Sarah to leave and never contact her again. As Sarah walked out of the coffee shop, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. The truth was out, but the damage was done. The aftermath of Sarah's confession was messy, to say the least. Emily was devastated, not just by the betrayal but by the embarrassment of having accused me in front of the entire family. She called me the day after our meeting with Sarah, crying and apologizing again. "Lauren," she said through muffled sobs, "I don't know how to fix this. I feel like I've ruined everything." I sighed, conflicted. Part of me wanted to stay mad, to let her sit in the guilt for a while longer. But she was my sister, and I could hear how much she regretted what she'd done. "Emily," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "what you did hurt me. You didn't even give me a chance to defend myself. But I get it. You were upset, and Jason probably didn't help with all his finger-pointing." She groaned. "Don't even get me started on Jason. He feels terrible, too. He told me last night he should have stayed out of it instead of jumping to conclusions." "Good," I replied, a little more sharply than I intended, "because he made things 10 times worse." We talked for a long time, hashing out all the messy emotions from the past few weeks. By the end of the call, I felt lighter. It didn't erase the pain, but it was a step toward healing. The real challenge, though, was the rest of the family. My mom's insistence, we held a family meeting to clear the air. I wasn't thrilled about the idea. I wasn't sure I was ready to face everyone again, but I knew it had to be done. We gathered in the living room of my parents' house, the same place where I'd shown the video days earlier. My mom and dad sat on the couch. Emily and Jason were on one side, and I sat on the other. The tension in the room was thick. My dad was the first to speak. "Lauren," he began, his voice heavy, "we owe you an apology. Your mom and I should have trusted you. We should have asked for more proof before assuming the worst." I nodded but didn't say anything. "And," he continued, glancing at Emily, "we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. As a family, we should be supporting each other, not tearing each other down." Emily looked at me, her eyes filled with remorse. "Lauren, I'll never forgive myself for what I did. I can't even imagine how you must have felt being accused like that." I finally spoke, my voice calm but firm. "It wasn't just the accusation, Emily. It was the way everyone treated me, like I was guilty until proven innocent. I felt like an outsider in my own family." My mom started to cry. "We were wrong, honey. So wrong. Please, can you forgive us?" I took a deep breath. "I want to, but it's going to take time. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight." They all nodded, understanding. Over the next few weeks, things slowly started to improve. Emily went out of her way to make it up to me, inviting me to lunch, sending me heartfelt texts, and even baking my favorite cookies, something she hadn't done since we were kids. Jason apologized, too, though his apology felt a bit more forced. I accepted it anyway, figuring it was better to move forward than dwell on the past. The rest of the family also made an effort to reconnect. My cousins, who'd been distant during the whole ordeal, started reaching out again, and even my aunt called to check in on me. But the biggest surprise came when Emily decided to confront Sarah one last time. Emily's decision to confront Sarah one last time wasn't something she shared with me until after it had already happened. She called me one evening, her voice shaking with anger and a hint of satisfaction. "I went to see Sarah today," she blurted out. "What? Why?" I asked, caught off guard. I needed answers, Lauren. I needed to know why she did it, why she lied about you, why she took the money. And honestly, I wanted her to see the damage she caused. According to Emily, the confrontation had been tense from the start. Sarah had opened the door with her usual air of indifference, clearly not expecting Emily to show up unannounced. "What do you want?" Sarah had asked, crossing her arms. "You know why I'm here," Emily shot back. "I want to know why you stole from me and blamed my sister for it. Was it just about the money, or was it something else?" Sarah rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, don't act so righteous. You've always been the golden child, Emily. Perfect life, perfect husband, perfect family. I just wanted a piece of what you take for granted every day." Emily was stunned. That's what this was about? Jealousy? Sarah shrugged. "Call it whatever you want. But yeah, I was jealous. You've never had to struggle the way I have. You have no idea what it's like to feel invisible in your own family, to constantly be compared to you and come up short." Emily told me her heart sank as she listened. She'd always known Sarah had a chip on her shoulder, but she hadn't realized how deep the resentment ran. "So you thought stealing from me and ruining my relationship with Lauren was the solution?" Emily asked, her voice rising. Sarah didn't have an answer for that. She just looked away, her expression unreadable. In the end, Emily told her something that surprised even herself. "You need help, Sarah. Not just financial help, real help. Therapy, counseling, something. Until you get it, I don't think we can have a relationship. With that, she left, feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and relief. When Emily told me all of this, I was speechless. I hadn't expected her to confront Sarah, let alone deliver such a bold ultimatum. I don't know if it'll make a difference, Emily admitted, but I had to say it, for my own peace of mind. A few days later, Sarah reached out to me directly. It was the first time I'd heard from her since the whole ordeal began. Her message was brief but unexpected. "I'm sorry for what I did to you. I'm trying to figure things out. I hope you can forgive me someday." I didn't reply right away. Part of me wanted to, but another part of me wasn't ready. Forgiveness is complicated, and while I believed in second chances, I also knew that trust would take much longer to rebuild. With Sarah out of the picture, for now, the family dynamic started to shift. Emily and I grew closer, rebuilding the bond we'd nearly lost. My parents went out of their way to make me feel included and appreciated, even planning a small family gathering to celebrate my birthday, a gesture that meant more than they probably realized. As for Sarah, I heard through the grapevine that she had started seeing a therapist. I didn't know if it was true, but I hoped it was. Everyone deserves a chance to change, even if they've hurt you deeply. The money she stole was never recovered, but I found I didn't care as much about that anymore. What mattered most was that the truth had come out and that my family was making an effort to be better, to do better. Months later, during another family dinner, Emily raised a toast. "To new beginnings," she said, her eyes meeting mine, "and to never letting anything come between us again." The table erupted in cheers, but as I looked around at my family, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. The scars from the ordeal would always be there, faint but lingering. Still, I smiled and raised my glass. To new beginnings. End of story. Would you like assistance summarizing or formatting this for any specific purpose, such as a video script or social media post?